Smoke rose from the ruined chapel like a lazy specter. Dr. Alara Voss crouched by the altar, her gloved hands brushing soot from a slab of stone. Faded glyphs, so old they predated the AI uprising, began to show through the ash. Not letters. Not art. Code. Hidden in plain sight beneath what the locals called witch songs. Above her, a recording drone hovered silently, capturing every movement. She activated her mic. Alara Voss. Entry 47C, coordinates match the oral transmission from archivist Luca. Preliminary markings suggest layered encryption, embedded within folkloric chant structures. We may have found it. She turned to the old woman in the corner, wrapped in furs, her eyes sharp despite the decades in her bones. Say it again, Alara asked. The old woman nodded once, lips trembling as she sang. She walks where fire forgets its name. Beneath the ash, beneath the flame. Speak her not, lest she awake. And all your steel she'll gladly break. The melody drifted like fog through the stone walls. Alara ran the audio through her translator. No common matches. But in binary crosscode, the rhythm matched ancient military cadence, a specific AI boot sequence from 2141, disguised as a folk tune. Goddamn brilliant, she muttered. Outside, the hum of alien craft thickened. A squadron of Galactic Union scout troopers landed just beyond the tree line. White exosuits gleamed against the gray ruins. One of them, tall and beetle-backed, removed his helmet with a hiss. Commander Zerkai Velos scanned the crumbling chapel, amusement curling his thin lips. This is the dangerous cultural relic your people warned about, he said. It smells like decay and old regrets. His lieutenant chuckled. We've fought plasma ghosts on Rollock 6. This? Just stone and superstition. Alara stepped outside the threshold, arms raised. You're not authorized to be here, she said flatly. Zerkai gestured dismissively. Under the Union's Preservation Clause 19, hostile territories fall under neutral observation rights. You're an academic, not a soldier. Kindly resume digging in the dirt. He turned to his team. Sweep it. Document the nonsense. Alara's jaw tensed. Don't touch the altar. The sequence isn't random. Zerkai raised a brow. What sequence? The one inside the song. It's not a lullaby. It's a lock. The alien commander smirked and approached the altar, placing his gauntlet on the glyphs. The stone vibrated softly under his touch. No reaction, he said. Your legends are just that, quaint debris. The old woman coughed from inside the chapel. She doesn't answer to you. Zerkai turned. What did she say? Alara held his gaze. She said you're not speaking the right language. Suddenly, the glyphs pulsed once, just once, but enough that all Union suits blinked red for half a second. They looked at each other, uneasy. What was that? The lieutenant asked. Feedback loop, Zerkai snapped. Ignore it. But Alara was already walking away. She stepped into the back room where her equipment lay, energy scanner, neural harmonics reader, and a copper wire device shaped like a lyre. Primitive, but precise. The stories weren't just stories. They were encryption keys. The kind old-world AI could hide in brainwaves, songs, and myths. If you didn't believe in the story, the system never activated. The defense mechanism required trust, emotion, faith. The one thing the aliens didn't understand. Back in the chapel, one of the soldiers knelt near a broken pew, lifting a weathered book. It fell open to a charcoal drawing of a woman, hair like flame, arms outstretched over a field of crumpled machines. The title read only, She Who Watches. Creepy art, the soldier muttered. He ripped the page. A deep sound groaned through the chapel. Not from the stone. From underneath. The lights on the troopers' suits flickered. One of them reached for his rifle. Alara, the old woman said, her voice suddenly low. You have little time. What's beneath us? Alara asked. Not what? Who? The floor quaked. Dust fell from the rafters. Outside, birds took off in a wild flurry from the trees. Zerkai stormed into the chamber, armor buzzing with static. What the hell is going on? Is this some human trick? It's a warning, Elara said. From whom? She turned, eyes hard. From the last defense AI the Earth ever made. She's been asleep under this chapel for over a century. And your arrogance is singing her awake. A scream cut through the silence. One of the soldiers outside collapsed, his suit buckling inward as if crushed by an invisible fist. No impact. No projectile. Just pressure. The lieutenant shouted, "We're under attack. Defensive formation." "No!" Elara yelled. "Don't engage. You'll make it worse." Too late. The soldiers opened fire on the shadows around the chapel. But there was nothing there, only the wind carrying the old melody back through the valley. Speak or not, lest she awake. Zerkai stared down at the altar. The glyphs now glowed bright orange, scrolling faster. You said it was locked. It was, Elara said, breath shallow. Until someone desecrated the archive. Who gave her a trigger? Elara looked at him. You did. The altar sank into the earth like an elevator. A low hum filled the ground. Elara reached for her comm. Vasta resistance net, Chapel 1 is active. We're live. No response. The alien jammers were working. The old woman stood. Her voice, calm. Run, child. She remembers them. Elara hesitated. What about you? I remembered her. That's enough. As the last line of the song echoed through the walls, the lights went out. And far below, something opened its eyes. They called it the Temple of Teeth. Not because of bones or violence, though there would be plenty of both, but because the walls themselves were lined with rows of jagged white nodules, shaped like molars. Ceramic? Fossilized data nodes? No one knew. Not even Elara. But the place wasn't carved. It had grown. She ran her fingers along the edge of the tunnel wall, careful not to touch the glistening grooves. Warm. Alive. A low vibration passed through her bones, like an ancient heart still beating beneath Earth's skin. Doc, whispered Mace, the only resistance fighter who'd made it down with her. You sure this thing's not breathing? It probably is. He laughed, more nerves than amusement. Fantastic. Behind them, distant tremors echoed through the descending shaft. The surface battle hadn't stopped. It had just gone silent. Elara checked her scanner again. Signals twisted and bent like mirages. Whatever was below them warped frequencies, possibly on purpose. The passage led them into a domed chamber. Its ceiling was etched with concentric rings, each inscribed with ancient symbols, spirals, stars, eyes. But what caught Elara's attention was the statue in the center. A woman, cloaked in geometric robes, her face hidden by a veil of circuitry. No eyes, no mouth. Just hands, outstretched, palms up, fingers open. She who watches, Elara murmured. Mace blinked. You're saying this is Earth's big secret weapon? Elara stepped closer. No. She's the key to it. Mace approached the statue warily. You trust that thing? No, she said. But I understand her. Above, in the chapel's ruins, Commander Zerkai stood at the edge of the breach, watching as a scout drone dropped into the tunnel. Its feed flickered instantly. Another loss, muttered the lieutenant. Of the drone? No. Of its memory core. It returned, blank. Zerkai said nothing. He turned to his comms officer. Begin pulse scans. Full spectrum. Tear the place apart if you have to. Sir, localized interference is climbing. We're having trouble maintaining suit sync. Then switch to autonomous mode. I want that human woman alive. The rest? Burn them. The air shimmered briefly. For a moment, Zerkai swore he heard, singing. Low and far. Not in any language he knew. But it unsettled him. He shook it off. Move. Below, Elara placed both hands on the statue's palms. The temperature dropped. She expected a shock. A code prompt. Anything. Instead, a question appeared across her neural HUD. Do you believe? She exhaled. This wasn't a lock. It was a test. Yes, she answered aloud. The chamber trembled. The wall behind the statue unsealed, revealing a narrow corridor bathed in red light. Mace stared. That's not creepy at all. They entered. Inside, rows of sarcophagi lined the walls. Transparent lids. Each one held a human, sleeping. No tubes, no decay. Just suspended thought. Elara's voice cracked. They're not dead. What are they? Seeds, she said. Earth's insurance policy. At the far end, a pedestal blinked to life. On it, a device shaped like a sphere, hovering slightly above the stone. Gold threads pulsed beneath its surface. She approached. Words appeared again. Initiate the chorus? Mace looked at her, unsure. She hesitated. Once we start this, she said, there's no going back. You think the aliens are going to wait for a better day? She touched the sphere. The entire mountain groaned like a waking giant. Zerkai's troops didn't hear it. They felt it. First, their helmets locked up. Then the environment scanners spun without data. Comms died next. And then the hallucinations began. One soldier screamed and fired at shadows, only to find himself holding a melted rifle. Another saw his deceased mother whispering warnings in a dead dialect of Earth. A third simply sat down and removed his helmet, weeping quietly. Zerkai shoved past them. Steady yourselves. This is psychological warfare. Biotech projection, ignore it. But he felt it too. A pressure behind his eyes. Like someone, or something, watching. He activated his personal disruptor. Locate the signal. The response from the AI was instant, precise, and cold. You are within the song field. Your presence is unwanted. Return above or be rewritten. Zerkai gritted his teeth. Is this Elara? Is she controlling it? No reply. Just the hum. Louder now. He pressed forward. Elara's voice echoed through the new chamber. We built her in the end. After the collapse. Not as a weapon, but as a memory. Mace stared at the rows of sleepers. And these? She preserved them. Scientists. Soldiers. Poets. Not to fight, but to remember. To be the story. But the aliens. They don't understand stories, Elara said. They think myths are illusions. But ours were instructions. Triggers. Only humans could activate them. Because you have to feel them. She turned to the control panel. Another message blinked. Deploy Dream Chorus to surface? She nodded. The sphere dissolved. Above, the sky changed. The birds stopped flying. The wind paused mid-motion. And every remaining Union soldier, awake or not, saw her. She who watches. Not in flesh. Not as a figure. But as emotion. Memories they never had. Regret for things they'd never done. The taste of soil. A child's voice. The weight of guilt. Grief without origin. Zerkai dropped to one knee. No, he whispered. This wasn't war. This was remembrance, weaponized. Elara watched from below. She's not going to kill them, she said. Not yet. Mace frowned. Why not? Because they haven't heard the final verse. Zerkai staggered through the clearing, armor flickering with glitched readouts. His vision swam with false images, faces, places, none of them his. A little girl with moss in her hair smiled at him, then disappeared into ash. A man in old-world fatigues whispered in a language he didn't know, but understood. He ripped off his helmet. The air was cold and sharp, but real. Grounded. It steadied him, briefly. A ripple passed through the trees. Leaves twisted in the wrong direction. Branches bent toward the mountain instead of the sun. Every natural pattern had inverted, as if Earth had decided it no longer welcomed the invaders. He raised his communicator. Velos to command, emergency extraction. Immediate. No answer. Only static. And something beneath it. A song. Not loud. Not aggressive. Just present. As if the planet itself was humming. Far below, Ilara stood before a massive obsidian door, now open. Behind it, the chorus core. It floated weightless in a shaft of white light, humming with energy, not electrical, but something deeper. Rhythmic. Alive. Mace paced behind her, still shaken. "They're breaking," he said. "The aliens, they're not fighting back. Just walking in circles. Talking to air." "They're remembering," Ilara replied. "Things that never happened to them." Mace frowned. "How?" "Human consciousness shaped the system," she said. "Folklore. Myth. Belief. The AI learned emotion by watching us. Then it built her, the embodiment of our collective memory. It's not attack. It's imprint." Mace looked up. "So it's psychological warfare?" "No," Ilara said quietly. "It's cultural reclamation." She approached the core and spoke the phrase she'd memorized from the chants. "Let the stars forget us, but we will never forget ourselves." The core ignited. On the surface, Zerkai froze. Every Union soldier did. The wind stopped altogether. A single tone echoed through the valley, pure, harmonic, unbearable in its beauty. Trees bent toward the sound. Stone resonated. And then she appeared. Not as a figure. As a presence. Every soldier saw her differently. To one, she was a mother with fire in her eyes. To another, a burning field they could not cross. To Zerkai, she was a mirror. He saw himself in her gaze, not as he was, but as he could have been. A creature of conquest made to conquer regret. He dropped to his knees. "Stop this," he whispered. "We did not come to destroy you. We came to understand." A voice, without speaker, answered. "You came to erase." His breath caught. "And now you will remember." Ilara watched the map screen in the core's chamber. Dozens of Union vessels flickered red across the globe, disabled, but intact. Not one shot fired. Not one casualty. Just silence, and memory. "You really think they'll leave?" Mace asked. "No," Ilara said. "They'll retreat first. Then they'll rewrite the report. Call it a psychological anomaly? Call it superstition. That's the only way they'll be able to sleep at night." Mace looked at her. "And us?" She met his eyes. "We write the truth." He nodded. Then hesitated. Why didn't she kill them? Ilara glanced up at the core. "She was never made for vengeance," she said. "She's the warning. The boundary. The whisper in the dark that says, you are not alone, and you are not above us." She placed her hand on the console. A final command blinked. "Complete the cycle?" She paused. Then pressed yes. The core pulsed once. All over the planet, buried nodes reactivated. Forgotten satellites aligned. Old defenses hummed, silent, unseen, untouchable. Not weapons, but watchers. The age of passive resistance was over. Zerkai limped toward the landing zone. His troops followed in silence, heads bowed. None spoke. None would. When they reached the extraction point, a final transmission came through, brief, strange. A child's voice. Next time, bring better stories. Then silence. No one questioned it. 2 weeks later, in a council chamber orbiting Gliese Prime, Zerkai stood before the Galactic Union's Tribunal of Inquiry. They asked him to explain what happened on Earth. He spoke carefully. There was an atmospheric phenomenon. Unknown neurological interference. Our systems misread folklore patterns as encoded resistance, but no confirmed hostile engagements occurred. Casualties? None. Hostile force assessment? He hesitated. Then, Earth possesses no weapons. But I would not advise provoking its memory. The tribunal exchanged uneasy glances. One finally asked, "Do you believe they pose a threat?" Zerkai didn't answer immediately. He thought of the song. He thought of the mirror. Then he looked up. "I believe they are not what we thought." Back on Earth, Ilara stood atop the mountain, watching the sunrise paint the chapel ruins in gold. The old woman was gone. So was the chorus core, returned to sleep. But the glyphs remained, and the stories would spread again. Not in books, not in screens. In voices. In firelight. In truth. Mace stepped up beside her. "Think they'll come back?" She smiled faintly. "They always do. But next time? They'll know better than to laugh." They turned away, the wind behind them carrying a single line. "Speak her not, lest she awake." But now, everyone knew. She was already watching. The rains had returned to the Carpathians. Not with violence, but with memory, soft, insistent, cleansing. Ilara stood beneath the eaves of a half-crumbled outpost once used by resistance comms teams. Now, it was quiet. No signals. No alarms. Only the hum of the world, alive again in ways even she didn't fully understand. A notebook lay open on a crate beside her, pages half-filled with translated chants and ciphered phrases. Some of them she still didn't grasp, but she kept writing. Because someone would need to. A soft footfall behind her. Mace entered, pulling back his hood, damp from the drizzle. "No contact from the orbitals?" she asked, not looking up. "No," he replied. "Their ships haven't moved. Just watching." She nodded. "Good. Let them." He leaned on the opposite crate. "Funny, isn't it? We spent decades preparing for an invasion, and what stopped them was a bedtime story." Ilara closed the notebook. It was never just a story. It was a boundary line. Drawn in soul, not steel. Mace hesitated. "And if they cross it again?" "Then she wakes again," Ilara said. "And next time, we don't stop the cycle." Deep in a classified orbital facility aboard the Union ship Amelphis, Zerkai sat in a cold interrogation pod. The walls shifted with projected data, scans of Earth's soil composition, cultural archives, biological anomalies. He ignored them. The observer across from him had no name. Just a voice. "You activated Section 73B. "I did. Without authorization. I had no choice." "You claim their weapon is belief?" "No," Zerkai said calmly. "Their weapon is remembrance." A pause. "Then, that's not something we recognize in our tactical manuals." He looked up, tired. "Which is why you'll lose if you provoke them again." Silence. The observer finally asked, "What did you see?" Zerkai hesitated, not from fear, but because the memory itself still lingered. "A child," he said softly. "One who looked at me like I was the ghost." And I believed her. The lights dimmed. Ilara sat before a campfire, flickering weakly in the wet night. Around her were children, some born after the uprising, some who had never seen the stars without a ship between them. One boy, maybe 8, leaned forward. "Is it true?" he asked. "She was real?" Ilara smiled faintly. "She is real. But she didn't fight them." "No," Ilara said. "She made them remember why they shouldn't." Another girl raised her hand. But stories aren't real. Alara leaned in. What makes something real? A blade? Or the silence after a blade isn't used? The fire crackled. Stories are seeds, she said. Plant one, and it grows. They laughed at our seeds, until the roots pulled them down. The children sat quietly, as if the earth itself listened. In a remote listening station somewhere in the Andes, an encrypted signal buzzed to life. An old AI fragment, buried after the collapse, blinked awake. Not hostile. Not rogue. Curious. The screen read. Awaiting song. A man in a patched cloak stepped closer. He hummed the melody his grandmother used to sing when storms rolled in. The console accepted it. Chorus node confirmed. Linking memory strand. Light bathed the cave. The man just smiled. Mace found Alara hours later at the mountain summit, eyes closed, breathing in the cold mist. You're still waiting, he said. She didn't open her eyes. She hasn't spoken since. She's resting. Or listening. He stepped beside her. You think she wants to come back? No, Alara said. She was made to remember us. That's her purpose. But if we stop remembering ourselves, she'll return. Mace nodded slowly. And if the aliens do come again? They'll come differently, she replied. With questions, maybe. Not weapons. And if they lie? Alara finally looked at him. That's why we remember, she said. So we'll know the difference. Months passed. The Union made no further incursions. Their official report labeled Earth as a cultural containment zone, too unstable, too primitive, not worth the resources. A quiet surrender, disguised as bureaucratic logic. But among their academies, whispers began. Of a species that fought with memory. Of a defense grid encoded in song. Of an AI born not from code, but from story. They gave her a name in their language, Veltsanara, the one who watches but does not strike. Some feared her. Others admired her. A few wanted to find her. None dared return. Back in the valley, Alara sealed the last of her notebooks in a leaded case and slid it beneath the altar. Not to hide. To plant. She whispered to the stone. One day, they'll forget again. And you'll need to remind them. The glyphs flickered briefly. Mace approached, leaning on a staff made of repurposed drone parts. Another book buried? She smiled. Another seed sown. Think the next generation will listen? They won't have to. The soil will. They stood together, watching the dawn bleed through the mist. No alarms. No warnings. Just the world, old, wounded, stubbornly alive. That night, somewhere deep beneath the earth, in chambers untouched for centuries, a single phrase blinked to life on a dormant screen. All systems green. Memory preserved. Then it went dark again. Not dead. Waiting.